we're going to start out with something that's kind of trash. I mean, it is trash, but it's also, we got some backup today. Now, this is going around recently because Ben Shapiro re-uploaded it, but this is actually an interview from 2019. This is Ben Shapiro interviewing Neil deGrasse Tyson. Now, this was back in like I said, 2019.
There's an
but it's an hour long, and apparently we didn't talk about it back then. Yeah, I'll post a pic with all four of them. Do you want them on? Do you want them on, or do you want them like spread out? Because either way, maybe I'll do both. I don't know why. I have no idea why Ben Shapiro would re-upload this clip of him getting owned, but he did, and so I'm convinced that Ben Shapiro has a public shame fetish, which is fine. He often gets publicly owned, just like a park. So Ben Shapiro here talking to Neil deGrasse Tyson about transgenderism, which is a term he uses. So we're gonna sit here and listen to this. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, I didn't know this interview happened. I don't recall it. Maybe I did know in 2019, but 2019 into 2020 was a weird time for everybody. So let's watch this. He's gonna make an argument that we've made before on this stream several times. So pretty excited about that.
Like the left is militating against the advent of science. One of those areas is the area of transgenderism. The argument that is typically made by gender theorists is that gender is entirely separate from sex. You've seen the argument made that it makes no difference on average if men are stronger than women are, and that if we were to allow transgender women to compete with non-transgender women, then this would somehow not disadvantage biological women. And this seems...
I love the idea of like in transphobes' minds, every trans athlete, actually just every trans woman in general, is just jacked, just fucking max like power at all times, just out here being like individual small LeBron Jameses, when really I don't know that many trans women that are like that. I like, sure, y'all exist, but like for instance, Hannah is not exactly the pinnacle of athletic achievement, nor am I. But I'm just saying, like this is your average trans person, specifically trans women in this case, want to be women, right? Like and there seems to be a trend towards the feminine when you're a binary trans woman, rather than the traditional masculinity that you've been sort of pigeonholed into by society before you came out, right? And now that's not the case for every trans woman. Obviously, there are trans women and men and non-binary people all over the place that have different levels of fitness and can dunk the fucking basketball. Who knows? But and cis women, of course, as well. This is the same across the board for everybody at different levels of athleticism. But like Ben Shapiro has clearly never talked to a trans person before. Like, especially if you take into account just the effect on musculature that estrogen has if someone decides to take estrogen during their transition, has a drastic effect on strength. If you ask pretty much any person that's taking estrogen as part of their transition, or just for any reason really, they feel less strong. Frick the Police, thanks for the 9 months. Physically strong, probably more mentally strong. The rage goes away. The boiling rage. I don't really have boiling rage. I don't know. But anyway, Ben Shapiro telling me people are individuals and can't be put into two binary boxes. Yes. Even if it's a malarkey. Bronny James at least 13 inches. What is that? Are you talking about what? What are you talking about?
Seems to me absolutely ascientific that if we're actually going to have a discussion about gender and sex, that should be based in data, which suggests that mammals are in fact binary in terms of their sex, unless you have
bimodal. Why talk to a scientist about this if you're just going to get trampled?
Intersex birth defects, typically, or genetic defects.
I'm happy to opine on this.
Why would you upload this if you're Ben Shapiro? Why? He just gets destroyed here. He gets destroyed. What's he doing?
This only matters
True.
because
Preach.
today we segregate nearly all sports by gender.
Based?
Otherwise, why do you even give a shit
True.
what someone identifies with? So we live in a free country, and with consenting adults.
We say it all the time.
People free expression of who and what they are.
Man,
say
on
it
adult
all the
level, I
time.
agree with you. I think it does matter what you teach
That's
your
what I'm
children.
saying. And so there's the matrix of what you are biologically, how you express yourself, who you choose as a sexual partner. If we actually live in a free country as we tell ourselves,
Woo!
people's freedom to behave in
Woo!
any of those ways should not concern you at all.
This is what we've been talking about on this here channel since probably before that. But even so, it's true no matter who says it. No matter who. This has probably been, trans people have probably been talking about this since fucking, since they've existed. Is, hey, I just want to be free. That's it. I'm certainly not the first person to think of it. Neil isn't either. But he's just saying this correctly. I have no idea why Ben Shapiro would upload this. That is such a good argument. Of course, yes, this is what we always talk about. Freedom. It's just the freedom to be whoever you want. This is why conservatives don't actually like a free country. Conservatives don't want freedom. Leftists do. I want the freedom for you to be able, and me, really, but I mean, I don't have this crisis, but maybe I would. I don't know. Who knows what's down the pipe? I have no idea what I'm going to be in 10 years. Something could drastically change my life, and I just go, you know what? This doesn't feel like me anymore. I want to feel like that. Who knows? And you too. Your journey, whether you're cis or otherwise, your gender is your own. Your identity is your own, and that could change, and it's malleable over time. And the freedom to do that, that's actual freedom. Without the fucking, don't legislate against it. If you don't like it, I don't care. You can Ben Shapiro doesn't have to like it. He could just be like, nah, I'm fine. I think that's weird. So I'm not going to do that. Fine. Go ahead. You have the freedom to do that as well. But once you start trying to advocate for legislation that marginalizes people even further, you're an authoritarian. You just are. Waller is me. Thanks so much for the 5 gifted subs, dude. First time gifting subs. Give one to Zensa, Jillyfoo, Too Many Plumes, Kegger, and Hikori. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate that. Fresh out of Folsom. Thanks. Give one to Peter Chance as well.
Good call, baby bird. Good call.
Appreciate that. Very kind of you.
Nor are they requiring that you behave that way.
True.
Okay, this is for their own freedoms because we live in a free country. Now, what is
He's just cutting him off. He's like, wow, well, actually, no. I'm going to keep talking. Shut up, Ben. This is how you top.
unresolved here is what do you do with sports? It's unresolved, and I've followed that closely, and I don't see any meaningful solutions to come down off of that. We know that hormones manifest differently in different people, and there's the whole thing with steroids. Steroids are hormones, right? And we rallied against steroids in.
Here's the solution. Let anybody play anywhere. There you go. Done. Now I know like spaces in like the WNBA, that's going to be a pushback because you're going to have a Joanna Man situation, but without the terrible transphobic plot line. You're going to have a Joanna Man situation in which the guy doesn't pretend to be a girl, doesn't pretend to be a woman. You're going to have just a dude that's like, I'm going to be in the WNBA. But basically, we just got to stop segregating along gender. That's really the case, right? And so initially, you're going to have some pushback from people like, this is our space. But, I mean, if we just let everybody play together, that seems like the good future to me. You know what you don't see? Is that in movies. You don't see co-ed, like non-gender segregated sports in like movies about the future. Isn't that weird? That should be a thing. We should start normalizing that because I mean, like let's be real. There's already a non-binary player on the Storm. Yeah, Seattle Storm. In Space Jam, I guess Space Jam, sure. Space Jam, Mighty Ducks. These are not professional sports, but yes, I agree. These are non-segregated sports. But that's really the answer. Is just if someone's good enough to be in the NBA, they're in. I don't know. The market will decide, as they say. You know what I'm saying? And I'm fine. I'm fine for now because we live in reality. I'm fine with the WNBA and the NBA being things. But if a trans person wants to join one of those leagues, all they have to do is be good at it. That's it. I'm fine if you want to be like women play here, men play here for now. Because I understand that society has to catch up to the conversation, and we are not normies, chat. We are ahead of the curve, and we will be for some time until that curve passes us. And someday we're the boomers. But right now we're not, okay? Right now we're not. We're ahead, and we're gonna have to wait. But you gotta stop gating trans people out. Trans people are not transitioning so that they can be really good at deadlifting. Like, this is not a thing. This is not a thing. Never going to be a thing. Frankly, I think you should allow people to do steroids if they want, under medical supervision. It helps a lot with recovery for athletes and stuff. I don't know. Because it happens anyways, so if you just have it be regulated like anything else, it's not gonna, not gonna harm people if you, in the way it normally harms people if you just allow it. Because usually it's just for like getting over injuries. It's not for the. I don't know if people know this. Yes, there is some muscular gain to be had with steroids, but if you're an athlete, especially like a baseball player, where steroids is a big thing, the big thing about that is maintaining your body and having it heal faster. Because there are 162 games played in the Major League Baseball season. There are 82 games played in the NBA season, although they're thinking about changing that. There are now 17 games played in the NFL season, including practices for that long, and those are incredibly physical. So all these sports, and hockey is one of these as well. They didn't have much of a steroids problem, though. It's hard to stay in playing shape all the time, and most people use them for that. But that's it. That's like kind of the whole thing. So I mean, I don't think someone taking estrogen is like looking out for their athletic peak.
Professional sports because it gives you an undue advantage. So I've tried to think of what the future of sports would be in the world of a gender spectrum. And it may be, you don't specify whether it's a male or female sport. You just take measurements of what your hormonal balances are. And so you compete based on your hormonal.
No, you just compete based on your ability. That's it. Just if you can make it into the NBA and you can be really good, I don't care what you look like or what your hormones are. We're not going to do blood tests. That's the whole thing. Just literally, if you're, I mean, you don't even do weight class. I mean, for combat sports, they already do weight class, so that's fine. They already have ways to deal with stuff in that. And frankly, most sports do have hormonal measurements to make sure doping isn't happening. So that's fine too. I don't really mind. As long as you accommodate for trans people, 100% fine with that. Don't mind at all. I don't know why anyone would mind. Major league and minor league. Yeah, we already do that kind of stuff. It's already things. So if you're just not good enough and you want to play that, that's fine. Go ahead. Women entering sports would not push this women out of sports. That's true. Of course not. Yeah. I just don't think it matters because we're kind of moving past the idea that like yeah, Timonich, absolutely. Yeah.
This is thought I had. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know where it's going to land.
Skill.
The
But-
WNBA won't be in business for very long if that's the case.
It would.
The WNBA can just be a subsidiary, like a lower league, if we think that the WNBA can't compete on the NBA's level. And I mean, frankly, they can't right now. They've only been a thing for a little while, and the apparatus of women's basketball sports is not nearly as robust as men's basketball. I mean, it goes all the way back to James Naismith, who invented the game of basketball. It was a men's sport for a long, long time. In college basketball and stuff, like women just haven't had the same funding or breadth of space to play. So, of course, you're going to have lower skill levels. But there are some women basketball players who are absolutely better than some NBA players. It just is a fact. So I have no problem. I have no problem at all. If you can compete among anybody at any professional level, then you get to. That's obviously how it would work, right? You want the best players anyway, so.
Just be you'd have to find some way to compete people against each other if you still care that sports is an interesting activity.
I guess the area where it does come up in a non-sports area.
Yeah, tell me, 'cause I don't know.
So it would be, you talk in your book about the education of children and teaching children about science. And right now, children are being taught about the quote-unquote gender spectrum, which is not scientifically based. That is it.
What are you talking about? It's not scientifically based. Yes, it is. Why did people pretend sociology isn't science? Sociology is science. It's not a hard science. It's not math. It's still a science. What the fuck? You can go study sociology today, right now.
That is a theory-based idea.
No, wait, hold on. People express themselves on a spectrum. So you learn that.
That's a social point, not a scientific point.
It's
social sciences exist.
Meaning we express ourselves
hold on.
based in different languages. Is that something you teach in science class, or is that something that you teach when you're teaching language?
So whether
that you teach in language. Oh, I'm sorry. The English language isn't a science, therefore not valid. What?
The fact that people want to express themselves on a spectrum, on a gender spectrum, whether that
the fact
thank
you
is something you want to put in a sociology class or in a science class, maybe that remains to be determined. But it is a real fact about real society.
Well, of course.
Yes, it is.
Nobody's denying that people identify how they want to identify.
So.
Well, then what the fuck are you talking about? No one's identifying that it happens. I'm just saying I don't want anybody to learn that it happens. What? Why? It's ironic Ben doesn't consider sociology a science, yet his good buddy Jordan Peterson is a doctorate in psychology. True.
So the question is, what is the relationship of that to biology? Meaning that the argument is made that trans women are women, for example. And what that seems to mean is that trans women are identical to women. Now, if people want to say...
No, it doesn't... No one is saying that trans women are identical to cis women. That's why the words cis and trans exist. That's why those words exist. They are describers of a thing, right? Trans women, and again, trans men, non-binary people, yet again, as per usual, deleted from the conversation. Not about you. Only about the trans women, because they're losing something if they cut their pee-pee off, which is definitely what sexual reassignment surgery does. It has nothing to do with... Just cut off and thrown away, tossed in the bin. That's right. Don't worry about the facts behind it. Who gives a shit? You don't have to be identical to somebody. Everybody, like is Candace Parker? Do you guys know who Candace Parker is? Candace Parker is a very good basketball player. She is a professional basketball player in the WNBA. I think she's still playing, or she's near the end of her career. No, she just got moved. She moved from the LA. That's what it was. Anyway, she's fantastic, and she's got genetic differences in her body that are just going to. I mean, she's predisposed to be, more adept. And she's also the cover athlete for NBA 2K22. There it is. Yeah, Chicago. That's what I thought. She moved from the LA. Just like LeBron James in the NBA. Like he's 6'8", 250 pounds. Yeah, he works out, but you can't teach 6'8". I don't know how tall Candace Parker is, but she's taller than Steve Harvey. And he seems like a big guy. I don't know. She's tall. You can't teach it. And then there's lots of other stuff that goes along with it. Like there's a thing in athletics. I don't know if you guys know this. It's called fast twitch muscle things. It's sort of a sports science thing. It's real, but it's also like a little overblown. But still, it happens. Athletes tend to have, especially higher end athletes, tend to have a particular muscle structure that lends toward a more explosive movements and stuff. And these people tend towards athletic careers from time to time. Just a higher percentage than the normal populace as far as who becomes an athlete. Yeah, there's genetic predispositions towards things. We don't have to be identical to one another to excel in certain things. Like, for instance, Ben Shapiro's tiny itty-bitty baby brain is not genetically comparable to my massive corn cob brain. You know what I'm saying? Just weird. Looks like she's 6'4" and 180. Yeah, that's big. That's a big person. That's taller than me by, 6 inches? Wowzers.
Say trans women are not biological women. Obviously, that is the case. But people don't seem to want to say that, although that is obviously scientifically true. Trans women are not biological women. Biological women are biological women.
I know that Neil is about to push back on this. I don't know why. It's weird. Because I know that Ben Shapiro and other people that have this conversation are told the difference between sex and gender. And there's this thing they do where they have to deny the factual premise of that in general to make their argument make any sense whatsoever. Like this, to somebody who's never talked about it, that sounds intuitive, right? It sounds intuitive to say a trans woman is not a biological woman. Okay, I can, if you've never had this conversation, okay, yeah, sure, I kind of get that, but that's not what we're talking about when we talk about biological women. Like, no. Women are obviously is the gender thing, and then like a female in the way that we describe sex it tends to be that. But we're coming up with even more language. I'm starting to just use femme to describe people that are feminine, like socially feminine. Because it just doesn't make a lot of sense to call someone, like, for instance, who's non-binary and feminine a woman, because it's just, like, kind of not, like, how they feel sometimes. Some do. Some are like, I'm a non-binary woman. Some are not. So it just depends on who you're talking to. So, they're intentionally using, like, these terms. Like, Ben Shapiro is just calling them biological. Using these terms because if you use the factual basis of gender being a social construct, sex being separate from gender, then he loses the argument immediately. So this is why they do that.
But where are you going with this? What are you trying to accomplish by asking yourself, is it science or is it not science? It's people in society.
James Luke Picante, did I say thank you? I did not. Thanks for the 14 months, dude. Just got my first dose of testosterone yesterday. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
But this is a perfect example of an area where suddenly it doesn't matter to say things that are just true. Like, why is it bad or wrong to point out?
I have another way to approach this. I care what is objectively true in the world as a scientist. But let me not say even as a scientist. I just simply care what is objectively true. And science happens to be a pretty potent path to invoke, to find out what is true. And so if people express themselves on a gender spectrum, and that is an actual thing in an actual society.
True.
If we have not fully explained that scientifically, that's an interesting frontier to study.
Yup. That's what I'm saying. I tweeted this the other day, maybe 2 days ago. I literally said, why are conservatives scared to have the conversation if people are exploring their gender? Why are conservatives scared to allow people to have that conversation about themselves? What is it about that conversation that really gets under a conservative skin? What's wrong with the freedom of understanding yourself better? That's all that being trans really is. Like, when you boil it down to the human experience and what it is, being trans and finding out that this is your identity is just really coming to terms with the person that you are and moving towards the direction that you want to become. It's like, it's not different than anyone that, I don't know, maybe you're chubby and you want to, and you're trying to get a fitness goal. You understand in yourself that, hey, I need to make a change, and I'm going to be happy, not for anybody else, just for you, to be happy, I need to make a change. And so I'm going to make that change, and I'm going to do it. And I don't care if someone else is going to look at me and be like, that's stupid. Why are you doing that? Fatty boombalatti running down the road. You're jiggling, right? They don't want you to. But you're going to do it anyway because it's going to make you feel better. It's going to make you feel good. Maybe you want to gain weight. I don't know. Maybe you want to learn a new language. Maybe, and these are things that you can learn about yourself. And then obviously something like being trans, that's innate. And you find that out about yourself. And you're like, man, I'm not happy this way. But I could be if I did this, whatever this is. If that's transition, just socially, not medically. If that's just medical transition. Well, I can't imagine just medical without social. But anyway, whatever that manifests. Dyeing your fucking hair. Not even that big a deal, but some people make it a big deal. Armor and Quills and Andy Keene, thanks for following. Ariel, thanks so much for gifting out 2 subs to Storm Warden and Tuba Steve. I appreciate you. 4 overall. I mean, it's just, if you like freedom, then you like the idea of somebody figuring out who they are and in America taking the steps to be that person.
If you want to say it's only sociological, then it's the purview of the social sciences.
Yep.
I don't care who studies it. It's an interesting fact about society. That's worth
Rachie Rambles, thanks for the 8 months.
Learning about. To fight someone and say, it's not biological, it's just your this. It's real and it's there.
Yup.
Because it's real because it manifests.
But it is real because it manifests. But the question of how to
He's getting destroyed in this. Why would you upload this, Ben? Why would you upload
classify manifestation is a scientific question, meaning that, for example, there was a woman over at Brown University. She came out with a study that suggested that there was a phenomenon called rapid onset gender dysphoria, in which
Ben is so spineless he can't even admit he's far-right authoritarian pretending to be a lib. Like it would give his arguments more legitimacy. Yaucha, thanks for the 200 biddies. Ben actually took a compass test. Was it like last year or the year before? And he got authoritarian. Like he was up in the left quadrant, and he went back and like changed an answer or something to try to like bring it down. It was funny. Last Firstborn with the 200 biddies, dyeing my hair teal with the white stripes was one of the most liberating moments in my life. Not gonna lie. Yeah, it could be like little things like that. Just like doing something like getting a piercing or a tattoo, something to express yourself in a more accurate way that makes you feel good about yourself. Yeah, all these things are valid. Like transness is just like, I guess to Ben, it's not to me, but I guess to Ben, it's a more extreme version of like getting a tattoo. It's like a permanent change of your life. It will forever impact your visage, I guess, but you like it, and that's what's important. I don't give a shit if you here's the big thing. Hey, did you know that how you look is not from me? It has nothing to do with me. Whether I appreciate it or don't appreciate how you look, it has nothing to do with me, right? Because really, it's an aesthetic issue for Ben. Because if someone just identified, like if I identified as a woman but never told anybody, he wouldn't give a shit. Why would he? It just doesn't affect him, right? But if I'm like, I like my beard a lot, I really like having my beard, but I want to wear like makeup all the time, he would fucking lose his mind. He'd lose his mind. He'd be like, what is that? What is that monster? It's like, maybe I'm just pretty as fuck, bro. Chrisio with the 50 biddies. Wait, ROGD is not a real thing. Wait, what is that? Rapid onset gender dysphoria. That study was based on the parents' perception of the child that became trans. These people are dumb.
A member of a particular group would suffer from gender dysphoria, and this person.
This is 2019, though. So I don't know that Neil understands that study was fake. You know what I mean?
Would suddenly have an onset of gender dysphoria. This paper was so controversial that Brown tried to pull it, and then was forced to
See, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? Let's say, hold on. Let's just say that study is bullshit, okay? That study is bullshit. But let's say it was true. Let's say you could catch the tran. Who fucking cares? Who gives a shit? Just by seeing a trans person, you're like, my brain's broken. Fucking who cares? Be happy. Do whatever you want. Who gives a shit? I can't imagine caring. Like, imagine, it's like seeing someone in a pretty dress. You go, oh, I like that dress. I want to have that dress and wear it. It's not that different. It's a little more internal, obviously, and a bigger deal because of people like Ben Shapiro. But like, imagine if we just treated it. What if we treated gender like an accessory to our identity, the same way we treat everything else? My haircut, my beard style, the clothes I wear, the way I talk, my mannerisms, the language I speak. All these are just facets of our personality that we compile into the person, the visage you see before you. Who cares? Do whatever makes you happy. It's so fucking stupid. Abolish gender. Absolutely. Somewhere down the line, if we survive, gender's not going to be a thing. We might still use some of the names, like he, she, they, whatever. Oh, look at that guy. Look at that fellow. Look at that lady. We might still do that shit. Maybe not, though. Look at that femme. Look at that look at that mask. I don't know. Who knows? I have no idea where the language is going to go. And as it does, as it changes, as language does, it's going to get more interesting. Who cares? Be whatever it is that you want to be. That's all that matters. Why? If Ben wants to be this sort of like hunched, squirrely little debate bro, then fucking be a hunched, squirrely little debate bro, dude. Just do it. Implying that you could catch the trans would imply that you could catch the cis, right? Yeah, I agree. If you can catch being trans, you can catch being cis. 100%.
Reassign it later. You see this sort of
That's a
treatment
different question.
True.
What you're asking now is, are there some topics that should not be studied scientifically?
Right.
And is there some taboo? And Sam Harris speaks a lot about this.
Yes.
And
No. The answer is no. Study everything.
I think the concern is, if you study some topic that's a hot button topic and you bring scientific methods and tools to it, we don't trust. I'm interpreting here. I think we as a society don't trust that people in charge in a free country.
Free country. I don't know what he's drinking here. It looks like a Fresca. Is Neil deGrasse Tyson drinking a refreshing Fresca?
Won't try to legislate something that will constrict people's freedoms in the face of that information. I think that's the fear.
Well, isn't that?
It's a fear.
I mean, and isn't that?
We don't trust our own ability to govern ourselves in the face of what could be some information relative to other.
Ice water. That's way cloudier than ice water. Unless he's drinking like pond water.
Well,
Other kinds of information.
isn't that a bit of a problem?
Yes.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, it's not. It means it's not a free society. It's not a society of free inquiry,
True.
which I think you need ultimately. But
Ben Shapiro, anti-freedom. Could be lemonade.
yeah,
my general
You put ice in lemonade.
take on all of this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
from climate change to gender dysphoria to all of these issues, is bring out the science and then let's hash it out.
The science. You have to accept social science as a science.
I think that the problem I'm seeing
yeah.
on a
But
lot
the
of
question
sides
is, what is your motivation?
Ooh! What's your motivation? Ooh! Got him. What's your fucking motivation, bitch?
What?
why?
right?
Why does that matter?
Whoa! Why does that matter? Because you're not being objective, you fuck.
It matters because if you have political power, you could end up creating legislation that subtracts freedoms from people who previously were enjoying the same freedoms as you.
Boom! Boom! Wow. Fucking crushed it. Fucking destroyed this. Why would Ben re-upload this? Why?
The history of that exercise
Then make a better argument.
doesn't
Then make a better argument.
end well.
Well, but the history of which exercise? Bring out all the science and let's hash it out.
I'm saying if you bring out all the science
Jesus walks, I
and the
fall.
politicians hash it out, the history of that exercise is a recipe for disaster if it involves discoveries that put people's freedom as defined in our Constitution at risk.
But now you're arguing for limitations on areas of particular study.
No, I'm arguing on we need a way to shield, we need a way to protect people's freedoms in the face of whatever gets discovered scientifically.
Yes.
So
I was asked, I'll give it.
I mean, I agree. I think that's what the Constitution is for,
Then fucking stop trying to legislate against trans people, loser.
is to guard rights from
But we're
the-
always
I mean, that's why-
fighting people who want rights are always
Neil is frustrated with his dumbass. Neil is frustrated with the dumbassery of Ben Shapiro.
fighting others who are saying they don't get the rights from the Constitution.
Why are they so close, by the way? I don't want to be able to knock your knee.
This is a daily challenge on the progressive left. It is a daily challenge, right? Here's an example. I forgot how I ended up getting this phone call. It was some magazine that serves the gay community. And I don't remember why, because they wanted my opinion on, they wanted my opinion about whether being gay was biological or mental.
Right, there's that new study that came out, this vast
or
study.
psychological.
Right,
okay?
right.
And I said, I
Well, this was in 2019. It was pre-COVID.
don't care which it is.
True.
Find out what it is, fine. But the answer to that question
Is irrelevant.
should have no consequence.
I agree. That's what I say. I don't give a fuck. Be whatever you want. Whatever makes you happy. Whoever you're sexually attracted to is valid. Who cares? Who knew an intelligent person explaining things calmly and irrationally would completely destroy Ben's facade of being intelligent? Everyone. I think everyone. But thank you for the bits.
On legislations or laws. Because, for example, suppose it said it's purely biological, okay? Then you say, oh, that explains it. Then suppose it says it's purely psychological. What are you going to do now? You say, well, now you're going to go to the reorientation camps or whatever those are called, where they realign you because they say it's psychological rather than biological. All of a sudden, people start behaving in ways in society that want to constrict the freedom of expression of who and what people are.
Facts. Bars.
And that is a danger. So maybe there needs to be a line in the sand. Let science do what it does, but politicians keep us free. Yet there's so many politicians that are doing the opposite of that.
So why aren't you a libertarian?
And that scares me.
I'm a libertarian.
You're not a libertarian, Ben! You're not a libertarian if you support legislation that is anti-trans people. You're not. What do you mean? You're not a fucking libertarian, Ben. He's not. He's not on the bottom right quadrant of the fucking political spectrum at all. He is above the median line. He is north of center. You're not a fucking libertarian. He's an authoritarian.
Come over here. Just
Okay.
The line is right here. Just join me over here. It seems.
No. What a dumbass. I'm not reading the comments. No. I'm not reading his comments at all. Not a chance. Goodness. I gotta sneeze. I don't think I kept my eyes open. Anyway. So, Ben Shapiro just got shut down. I mean, he just got destroyed. That was a 2-year-old conversation, and he chose to fucking show people that again. For some reason. Doesn't make any sense.